Wherefore, Part 16. The 7 wizards of Stroud do not talk to each other. They all come from a long tradition of wizards bent on thwarting each other. They snub each other at every opportunity. They definitely do not send each other little messages. If you ask any one of them, they will tell you as much, and they will say clearly and with very small words that they despise the others and would never speak with them in any circumstances. What they won't tell you is that obviously there has to be some provision for emergencies. There is a small plop of a noise, and a tatty piece of notepaper appears inside an empty goldfish bowl belonging to the wizard William. The goldfish bowl stands dusty on a shelf and exists for this purpose only. The wizard William sighs heavily and reaches for the note. It will be bad news. They only ever send each other bad news. The note reads, Druid infestation, revival. The sender is omitted to mention their name, as is traditional. The wizard William sighs again and shakes his head mournfully. This will be troublesome. Revival druids are argumentative, not that any kind of druid infestation is easily cleaned up, and Stroud is terribly prone to them. They increase in number at an improbable rate if unchecked, using up all the mead for miles around and causing all kinds of misery. At least a revival infestation, if it gets as far as making a wicker man, will only be symbolic. A few years previously there was an Iron Age strain that were keen on nudity, woad and actual human sacrifice. He shudders at the memory. For the sake of form, the wizard William goes to the top of his tower and has a look around. He sees nothing, but had expected this. He will undertake to keep the druids from infesting the base of his tower, but that will likely be it unless things get out of hand. Keeping people away from the tower is hardly a druid-specific concern. The wizard William's tower is largely invisible and unavailable. Only corvids routinely break into his solitude, and they are entirely welcome. Some of the wizards believe that druid outbreaks are caused by mobile phone masts, but the wizard William considers it likely that there are old-fashioned reasons. Ergo, perhaps, or especially high pollen counts around midsummer. Now that he is at the top of the tower with its perpetual mist, he is tempted to stop for some proper brooding. He has long since overcome the need for any sort of witness to his exquisitely manifested melancholy. No one has to appreciate how well he gazes towards the horizon. These are arts to practice for their own sake. Of course, these are also arts that relate well to his magic. He can hear the wind clearly like this. The sky is open to him. There are jackdaws with gossip and magpies with stolen secrets. He is in his element. He watches the giants as they move between the hills and wonders if any meaning can be found in the patterns of their wanderings. It is difficult to judge the intentions of giants, but they are unusually active at the moment, and that alone is a cause for concern. He considers sending a giant warning to the other wizards, something to put the druid outbreak in proper perspective. On the whole, it seems better to wait for a touch more drama before saying anything. Before he descends from the tower top, the wizard William takes a few moments to renew the magic he is chiefly interested in. Every day, the tower grows a fraction higher, and at the same time all the buildings in its vicinity move fractionally further away. It is a slow enough process not to attract attention. As a consequence, no one has got round to thwarting him yet. Reality bends to his patient will. The tower climbs. Everything else recedes. Given long enough, he will empty the 5 valleys of people, and they will believe nothing has happened. Small things done well can lead to large changes. His next task is to work on some thwart. One of his rivals is planning something rowdy and full of people. The jackdaws tell him this must be stopped. The wizard William does not object to gathering people, in principle, but he demands the right tone. Funerals are perfectly acceptable. Silent awe and dread have charm when manifested by a large group. He's not averse to dismay or discomfort if done quietly. If he has gathered people and has transfixed them for some specific purpose, obviously that's fine, but Other wizards trying to harness the energy of the masses are not to be tolerated. Nerys is asleep, and Caroline decides to just leave a note for her and go out. 5 women from her drumming circle are going, and she takes a guilty pleasure in not having to invite Nerys along. Not that Nerys would want to go. Better to just skip over the potential for family drama and get on to the good stuff. She has, as per instructions, dressed in her most flamboyant clothes. She's not entirely clear what the plan is, but it is some sort of protest or celebration or carnival or folk event or whatever. The details don't seem that important. The key thing is to get out there in the street and make some noise, make something happen in a loud and obvious way so that everyone knows whatever it is that is so important this time. Caroline is so keen on protesting that during the referendum she and her drumming group, the Sisters in Solidarity, managed to form their own protest unit in between the Leave and Remain campaigners in the High Street, bringing about a moment of magical community cohesion. Both sides of the debate united in doing their best to shut the drummers up while simultaneously being afraid that somehow this chaotic, noisy explosion of brightly coloured women might be on their side. Caroline feels there is a lot of social good to be done by occupying the middle ground in this way. There is an odd energy in town today, she feels. The usual Saturday crowds are out, and there are many folk here who have been summoned as revellers. She recognises faces and kits from the Wassail, various protest groups, a yarn bombing cell, and the local Morris sides. Stroud loves a good protest. There are also a lot of unfamiliar faces. Regardless of other gender indicators, they all have long beards. Some are in white robes, some in black or neutral tones. There are capes and staffs and headdresses, and while they look like the sort of people who belong here, they make her uneasy. Before she has much time to think about this, the procession gets moving. All is drums and ululation, swirling dance and skirling music. The Morris dancers have one tune going on and the Red Band another, and in between them the Sisters in Solidarity are out of time with both groups. Arrhythmic drumming is very much part of their vibe. Everyone is marching except when things get congested and they have to stand around awkwardly for a bit, and onlookers get pulled in and the crowd swells and all is breathless, giddy and exciting. Somehow it is still breathless, giddy and exciting as they take their 3rd turn around the town's time-honoured processional route. Although now it is also terrifying and exhausting, and she does not want to dance and drum her way up the significant hill that the High Street is on, and the expressions on the faces of onlookers are increasingly troubled. And somehow they are going past the subscription rooms again, and how do you make it stop? How do you leave? She tries to leave, and one of the beard-wearing, white-robed figures appears from nowhere and dances her back to her place in the line, and she is overwhelmed by the fear that she will have to do this forever, round and round the town, banging, protesting, celebrating, until she dies of exhaustion. Until they all die. When they appear, she knows in her guts that these are the 7 wizards. Each holds a key spot on the route. Things slow a little as she passes each one the first time. On the second pass she can see how each of them is pulling robed figures out of the procession. By the 3rd pass she is too tired to think about what the wizards are doing to the robed figures. Now, wizards anyway. They're community police officers. They are event organisers. They are only here to help. All is as it should be now, and she should go home and have a nice cup of tea, because she has protested well, and whatever happens in Stroud is bound to change the world. And there was definitely no outbreak of Druids here, and she has not seen any wizards.